Yay! It says you are live.
Hooray!
Hello.
Now the question is, are we buzzy?
We're going to do a check because, hello, this is Sheila and Danay. We are doing a go live. Last time the sound was really buzzy. I've done some updates on my computer and we'll do some kind of check on our side. If you do happen to be on, you can let us know if it's buzzy or not. This is me talking so Danay can actually hear.
Sounds fine. Keep talking.
Yeah, it's just normal.
Good.
So that check being done, thanks so much for listening this far. If you did, and if you decide to keep on listening, then kudos to you because you're obviously open to whatever is going to happen today. And as turns out to be kind of normal now, we had a topic in mind, and then at the last second I said, I think I want to talk about something else. So
good. What are we talking about today?
Yeah, Danay doesn't really know what we're talking about, but what I wanted to talk about was time. Time, I think, affects people in very different ways. Their perception of time, do they feel they have enough time, not enough time, how long things take, how long before something happens, how quickly something went. And I love that we feel that time is standard. It is what it is. There are 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, and we just keep going from there. And it's all very objective, and there's really nothing fluid about it. And yet when we actually live, it doesn't feel anything standard at all.
No, it's very subjective.
Yes, it's like, what do you mean? That was 5 minutes. How could it have been 2 hours? Or, oh my goodness, how could this only have been 6 minutes? Because it feels like 8 hours. And so it's pretty fun to realize that this can be something that you have an awareness of, that it's not standard. And in my opinion, you can change your perception of time. You can stretch it. You can have it go slowly, faster, whatever feels best for you. So that's what we're going to talk about. We are not going to talk for an hour. If you've watched any of our past go lives, sometimes they're 45 minutes to an hour, which I feel is a bit too long.
No.
And it turns out it works out. I have something to do today. I'm going to go visit my aunt who is 96. She is lovely. She has had a lot of time on the earth, and I really enjoy visiting with her. And so I've also had a lot of time on the earth, but it makes me feel better about my time, looking at her time, to know that I'm actually only about halfway to where she is, and she's not at the end. So there is no end anyway, but I'm nowhere near my end. I promised myself that that's true. So now, why is this maybe a fun, little controversial topic? Is because Danay has a very different aspect of time. And we've been spending some time together recently. And it's come, really clear to me when you are spending time with someone live and in person and not just random calls once in a while, you have an idea of how they treat time. So, Danay, why don't you let our viewers learn a little bit about your version of time?
Well, time is, like you said, something that's an objective measurement of something, but we have a misconstrued perception of it. It's very subjective. And depending on where I am and who I'm with, time can be very flexible. I look at time with people I enjoy spending time with as non-existent. I don't pay attention to it. I don't care about it because I'm being present. I'm having fun.
You hear from the tone of her voice how judgy she is about that. It's like, well, at least I'm present.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you did.
No. Stop doing your energy read here.
Yeah.
Time is something that I'm very focused on when I'm by myself because I'm attentive to what, how long something takes or when I'm going to do something next. But like I said, if I'm with somebody that I enjoy spending time with, then I'm not attentive to time. Mm-hmm. And I think that's great. I think that's important. And then it seems like if people who are, not focused on time and other people are focused on time, then it creates this sort of dynamic that says, one person's very focused on time and the other person doesn't give two shits about time.
Some words like obsessed have been used, although then there was denial. Obsessed was never
Fixated.
the word. Fixated possibly was the word. And I do think it's funny because I don't have an awareness that I'm always looking at time. And yet I think I have possibly old habits of, for instance, wanting to be on time for things like appointments, or if someone is coming to pick me up, I want to make sure that I'm not inconveniencing them, that I am there early, or at the very least, when they arrive, and to have them wait perhaps 10 minutes extra feels like not good.
That's important. I like to be on time for people because it shows a level of respect.
Yeah.
There are certain things that intervene, and my estimation of time isn't necessarily accurate, but you know what? No one on the planet is like perfect at estimating time. There's conversations that we've had where she's like, it's been an hour and a half. I'm like, it's been half an hour. And then how do we detect whether or not it's actually been that amount of time? I'm like, well, I got this message at the time of the beginning time of our conversation. And that informed me that I was correct. It was half hour.
It's true. But in my perception, it had been an hour and a half. So how much fun to know that actually could have been true for me. But when we look at the empirical objective time measurement, it was different. Which again brings us back to the idea that we can really have fun with this idea of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that because it is used as a standard in our society, that yes, we have so many cultural beliefs about time. And it is perceived as, it's respectful to be on time for someone, or disrespectful if you make them wait. And isn't it fun to realize that those are actually just habits? Those are social norms that we have chosen to accept, and some people haven't, and those people who have get really annoyed by those people who haven't accepted those. And when you travel to other countries, there can be very different perceptions of time as well, and it can be a shock for people when they think, oh, well, I need dinner right now, or I need my car fixed right now. And people say, come back later. It's siesta now, or maybe tomorrow, or maybe next week. And that feels like a very strong reaction is generated because it feels so wrong. But in that culture, that's the pace that they're moving at. And they find that soothing. They find that a better, well, I'm putting a judgment on it, but I think they find it better. Maybe they don't judge better or worse. It's just what it is there. So it's, I think, fascinating that it feels like it's so scientific and objective. And I think it's actually the foundation for a lot of emotion.
So in a sense, you're talking about the power that time has over us, because it does have power. We give it power, in other words, because the amount of control that we give something like time can have a drastic impact, or minimal, depending on how much power you give it, on our experiences, on our day-to-day lives, how satisfied we are. Because if we expect, and expectations play a role in this, if we expect something to take a certain amount of time or take less time, and it ends up being different than what we expect, that creates some challenges, that creates some conflict, because your expectations are not being met. But
see, and I actually flipped it the other way. I heard it completely opposite when you said it. I was thinking like that would be something to celebrate. Like, oh, I thought this was going to take a lot longer, and it didn't take a long time.
If it's something like a task, right? Like we helped your daughter with her school prep for her classroom stuff, and you guys made an estimate of how long it would take me to do a particular task. And I said, no, it's not going to take that long. I really enjoyed the task. And it was somewhere in between.
Yeah.
And that still felt satisfying. But say you expect to spend a certain amount of time with somebody or doing something, and then that then is met with a different sort of result or outcome, then that creates conflict within the person, right? But is it to somebody's particular downfall, or increasing challenges, or creating this energy of feeling like you've been, I don't want to say transgressed. It's not the right word.
I was going to say the word robbed.
Rob.
Because that's the energy that I'm feeling, is that like, actually, this has been robbed from me. This time has been stolen from me. And how much fun that we were listening to a conversation this morning that had the analogy of if you feel someone is stealing something from you, the best thing you can do
is just give it to them.
Is give it to them freely and openly, so that you are not the one carrying that energy of having lost something or having had it taken from you. And I love that you brought that up right now.
Yeah. No, but it creates, okay, so let's say it creates this sort of energy. Many people go away for a week at a time or something. They say they go away for vacation or something. And when they're away, they may feel more of an impact or effect of time because of their quote unquote limited time in this particular place, this realm. Maybe they went to a hot tropical island or something, and they're like, they want to stretch time, but they know well, in fact, that they're there for 7 days and that those 7 days will go by. And there are people who create these sort of phrases that say like, oh, this will go fast. This will go fast. And there are other people who will say, why would you say that when you could just say time will go as time goes, and creating that thing. But I think if there's certain activities that somebody wants to do in a particular set of 7 days, if they lived on this tropical island, for say, then you could say that they would not be as constrained by time because they wouldn't have that limitation. So I think it creates that sort of additional power or giving away of power, having time have more control because of that set limitation. And there are a lot of people who don't like coming back from a vacation.
See, I love that whole conversation that you just like what you added there. I'm distracted by the cat who's popping up too. And my experience has been the opposite of that. So often, like when I go away, it feels like it's a week and it feels like it's been 3 months at least. Every day feels like it's a whole week. And I do believe that part of that is because I don't go into that week starting off with the idea of lack of, oh, I only have a week, which I think is a direct result of me having the freedom that I have in my life. You know, when the old days, when I had 2 weeks of vacation a year total, you know, literally 10 work days, I think there was that sense that you really have to hoard it and really squeeze everything you can out of every second that might be called vacation time. Whereas now there is more ease and there is more freedom and there's more feeling of choice. And that I think really lends itself, because when I do go away on these more organized type of trips, it feels so long and I feel so different when I've gotten, like when I return. There is no sense of, oh, I'm sad to leave. It's, wow, I can't believe that was literally only 7 days or 10 days. And I love having that perception. So welcome to anybody who has joined us or still listening. We will be keeping this to be a shorter go live, but if you have any comments, feel free to drop them on whatever platform you're watching, whether it's Danay's YouTube or my Facebook. We would love to know, what do you have in your perception of time? Does it seem to be something that you're lacking? Do you feel like you have an abundance of time? Are you aware when you are stretching it or making things go faster? It's pretty interesting, I think, when we're aware of it. If we're not thinking about it,
some people may not give.
Well, that's it. Like it might not even matter to you, or you might just feel like, oh well, I'm at the mercy of it. There's nothing I can ever do about it. There's just never enough. That's how I used to be. It's like, there's just never enough. Why would I bother to even think about it? And it's been fun to realize that I do have more power and control over how time like enters my life.
Yeah. I wonder if you have this perception because of how often you travel and you've gotten used to this idea of being in particular places for a set amount of time.
Maybe, but I was aware of it earlier as well. And I mean, even when my kids would go away on school trips, they had like a week in Ottawa, for instance, the school did the program. They had that same experience. Or we went away to a scout camp 1 year, and it did. Every day felt so long, and it felt like we had been gone for months and it had only been a week or so. and everyone felt so different. So I do believe, and even my son went on a scout trip to Costa Rica, and when they had been gone, I think, let's just say it was between 7 and 10 days. I don't really remember. And as they walked in to the gates of the airport, all of the parents who were standing there, we were just speechless. Like, what happened? Somehow they were all taller. They were more tan, but they looked taller and more grown up. And my son's personality was completely different afterwards. And I think that was the same for a lot of them. They all had more maturity, and they just had a whole new perspective that you wouldn't have thought possible could have happened in a week.
Yeah.
So it was pretty amazing.
That's fair. So I wonder if it's not based on your frequency of travel, but your attachment to how the experience goes.
Possibly.
So
Possibly.
It's interesting to see the impact, because if you're somebody, I mean, maybe there's a correlation between the amount of travel experiences and the level of attachment, because you're so used to traveling, you're not likely to be more attached. Somebody like me, who travels more lately, but hasn't really traveled a lot in the past, maybe I become more attached to how a particular trip is going to go. And I used to travel at least once a year for conferences while I was doing my PhD. And I would remember having the time of my life with these trips, but then I would not like coming back. I would remember it would be a span of, 5, 6, 7 days maybe. And I'd forget about my own reality and be in that new place, and then come back and being like, it's too soon. So, and then I have been on trips where I'm like, the same amount of time, and I'm like, I need to go home like yesterday. So it just, it depends on how well the trip is going, but also how are you attached to the actual outcome of the trip, maybe.
True.
So
true. Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, because I think almost everything in our life is very closely tied to what outcome do we have in mind, and how attached are we? How much do we think it needs to be this one way or the other?
Yeah.
Or just super loose and open. And having ideas and desires and wanting something to happen is not bad at all. I think it simply does matter how much do we kind of grip onto needing it to be one way or the other.
Yeah, that's fair.
So are open to different options.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the impact of it. And like I said, when I'm with people that I enjoy being with, then I don't pay attention to time. But I do have in the past had this sort of experience where I would say, okay, I got here, I have 7 days left. Or I would immediately go to the end of the trip in my mind and say, I only have, like, what's it going to be like when I have to leave, and all these things. And it makes no sense to think that way. An analogous way to be thinking is like, you're alive, but one day I'll die, so.
Yeah. And you just spend all your time going, I probably wouldn't have done anything before that. So,
well, you bring up the experience of having.
They want in on the action.
We have a guest star on this featuring.
I feel like I'm being watched, or maybe like
something you feel like you're being watched. I was thinking to myself about how your expectation of time and your attachment to things automatically have an impact of how well the trip goes and how likely you are to enjoy yourself. So, but if you then think about releasing time, like if I'm somewhere for a lengthy amount of time, I don't care about time, but the closer I get to that trip ending, then I start to notice it, and I start to have more of a limited or lack response to it, rather than something that's, abundant, I guess, in nature. So.
Well, I think that is a great segue into a whole other conversation, because by doing that countdown in your mind, all you're doing, you're not doing what you talked about of being present. You're leaping ahead to, but then I'll be gone. Or that'll be over. And well, that's not fun.
No. That's why I say it's like living your life and then just saying like, one day I'll die. And it's like, well, we all will.
Yeah.
But your focus creates your reality, essentially.
It does indeed.
So
What a fabulous phrase to end on. Thank you, Danay.
yeah,
Your focus
no problem.
does
Create your reality.
It does.
So
Those thoughts. So yeah, thanks for anyone who popped in. Now we're on the replay. Feel free to say hi and any comments that you have access to. And yeah, maybe this will become something bigger, because I think it'd be fun to play with others and have a really good interactive conversation about time and what it feels like for you.
yeah, for
So
sure.
wherever you are, have a fantastic Friday weekend coming. Happy September for everybody who is out there enjoying some fall, and maybe kids going back to school. I love this time of year. So wherever you are, hope you are enjoying it too. And we will see you next time, talking about who knows what.
Yeah.
So
Enjoy your time.
Yes.
And now, as we are ending, is when we have our,
there's a little face for you.
our little feline friend coming into play.
Yeah, awesome. Okay.
Take
cheers.
care.
Bye.